is Suzanne Cope, and I'm the Locavore in the city. I'm here to show you how to make pickled strawberries. So I invented this recipe about a year ago. I had a ton of strawberries, didn't know what to do with them. And I thought, what the heck, let's pickle them, right? You can pickle almost anything. So I made kind of a savory sweet pickled recipe, and it just wasn't quite right. So I'm adjusting it this year. I'm making something that's more sweet than savory, and I'm using my grandmother's sweet pickle recipe as a basis. So pickling is super, super easy. The very first thing I want to do, because I need to boil some liquid, is I am going to boil 1 cup of vinegar, and this is just regular white distilled vinegar. And to that, I'm going to add sweetener. I think I'm going to use sugar for one. I'm going to make 2 batches. I'm going to try sugar for one, and I'm going to try honey for the other, because I really prefer to use local ingredients when I can, and sugar is just not local to the Northeast. So I thought by trying out 2 different things, we'll see which one works. Maybe they both will. The ratio that my grandmother seems to swear by is 1 part sugar to 1 part vinegar. So 1 part to 1 part. I put in 1 cup of vinegar. I'm going to put in 1 cup of sugar. I know it seems like a lot, and maybe it is. I'm going to use a scant cup of sugar because I really hate to use too much sugar. So that's a whole 1 cup of sugar in there. And then we do need a little bit of salt. Grandma's recipe calls for 1/8 of a cup of salt, which is, I'll use this thing here. 1/8 of a cup is 2 tablespoons of salt. And you do need salt when pickling, even if you're pickling something sweet. So, also, you know how there's a little bit of salt in your sweet baking recipes? It's because a little bit of salt helps bring out the sweetness of the sugar and other flavors. So I need this to boil, and I need the sugar and the salt to mix in. And this is also the time when I can flavor it. So I'm going to put in some all-natural vanilla. And this is my own addition, so I'm going to make it up. A teaspoon? So I have my heat on medium. And I'm just going to stir this around a little bit to get it incorporated. You don't want it to burn or scorch. And while that's happening, I'm going to wash the perfect strawberries. So this is the key. You need a single bite strawberry, and you need them to be blemish free, as ripe as possible, completely clean, and well, perfect. Perfect. Here is a perfect strawberry. You see that? Perfect bite. All right, I'm gonna get this ready. I already have some jars over here that have been sterilized in scalding water, boiling water. And I'm not going to can them. You can can pickles, and especially you can can very sensitive things like strawberries, but it's a little more difficult, and I plan on eating these pretty soon. So I'm going to wash these. I'm going to take the tops off. I'm going to put them in my jars, and then I'm going to pour the pickling liquid on top. Okay? So I'm taking the tops off and putting them in these jars. You do not want them stuffed too full. You want a lot of space so all that good pickling liquid can get all around it. You know, you could keep the tops on. In fact, if you have some cute little curly tops like this, it might be fun finger food, to pop it in your mouth. But I think that is just one more step to eating, and I hate things that get in the way of me eating. So I'm going to take them off this time. But if you were giving them as a gift, it might be cute to keep them on. Or making them for a cocktail party. So I'm taking the tops off, and as you can see, it doesn't take that many to actually fill a jar. And these tops that I have over here, I'm going to put them in the compost as soon as I've filled this jar. It's also interesting when you're pickling, because you're using fresh fruit, every single batch is going to taste different. These strawberries, unfortunately, aren't as sweet as the ones I had last year. I think it's in part because I picked them a little bit later in the season, and also because there was a lot of rain. And strawberries love water, so they suck up the water, and it kind of dilutes some of the sweet juices that they have. And it also wasn't as hot of a summer as it was last year, at least not as hot of a June. And so that kind of affects the flavor as well. All right, so this is pretty full. And the other thing I wanted to do with these, I'm going to make another jar as well, is I wanted to add a little extra layer of flavor. And so, unfortunately, here in New England, basil season and strawberry season do not entirely coincide. However, I picked just a few basil leaves from my plants out back, and I'm going to kind of shove them in the jar, not shove them, very delicately place them in the jar. I think I'm going to do 4 leaves, because that was all my plant could spare. I want it to grow big and strong. And I'm going to put these in there. Oops, I probably should have put them in there before I put in my strawberries, but here we are. They're all wedged in there. Oh my gosh, I love the smell of basil. It smells delicious. And I'm going to put my pickling liquid on top of this. Okay, I'm going to get a few more jars ready, and I'm also going to start stuffing a jar where I think I'm going to use mint instead of basil in another one. And I'm going to also, depending on how much pickling liquid I have left, I'm going to make a version with honey. So honey mint and sugar basil were the 2 flavors that I was going for. All right, I'll be right back. We have boiling pickling liquid here. Remember, it has salt, sugar, vanilla extract, vinegar, and that's it. I'm going to take it off the heat, but without letting it cool, I'm going to pour it into my pickling jars. I'm just going to show you pickling jars. Pour it in there. Wow. Okay, so this amount of liquid was kind of perfect for 2, what size are these? Half-pound jars? And I'm going to put the top on them, and I'm going to, they're not going to seal, so I'm not processing them to seal, but the vinegar is going to preserve the strawberries, and it should, and you can't eat them for maybe another 24 hours. You could probably start sampling them in a couple hours, but you're not going to get the full effect of their flavor. So I'm going to put a top on them, and I'm going to let them set, and hopefully they'll be delicious. I'm sure they will be. So here's something else to remember. You can put your pickles in the fridge, and in fact, I suggest that you do so. But don't put them in there while the glass is still hot. You're just asking for the glass to crack. So let them cool to room temperature, and then throw them in the fridge, and then you can enjoy them in about 12 hours. So I'm going to make one slightly different batch. I'm going to use the same ratio of vinegar to sweet honey. And this is local honey. Got this big thing here. Kind of expensive, but I don't cook a lot of sweet things. And so I thought, you know what? This is a pretty good use of my money to buy locally. Plus, I'm supporting a local farm, local bees. Those bees are doing a job pollinating my local vegetables. So I'm pretty psyched. Oh, plus that honey has such an amazing flavor. It's just so rich and thick and Funny enough, this honey is from the same town as the strawberries, which is about 30 miles north of here. And then the mint is from my backyard. So I have a beautiful jar that's stuffed with strawberries that I took the tops off of, and some mint from my backyard. And that's it. That's all that's in there. So now I'm about to pour in the pickling liquid, which is, just to review, it is 1 cup of distilled white vinegar. It's about 3/4 of a cup of local honey and 2 tablespoons of salt. And that's it. And I'm about to put it inside this jar. This is a pint jar. And I'm going to have some leftover liquid that I'm going to have to find a creative use for. Woo! Oh my gosh, look at that. So it doesn't look like much, I guess, but it smells amazing. It smells, well, it smells kind of weird. It smells like sweet vinegar, but mostly like strawberries and honey. Oh my gosh, because that's what it is. So I'm going to put the top on this, let it come to room temperature, put it in the fridge, and then I'm going to sample it in about 12 hours. These are resting on my counter, and I can't wait to test out my pickled strawberries, the new sweet version. Thank you so much. I'm Suzanne Cope. I'm Locavore in the City, and I look forward to sharing some more Locavore tips with you.